to me, baby. Ooh, baby.
What the fuck am I doing? Look, it looks like you guys enjoyed yesterday's video, so I thought, why not make more?
Baby.
This is your fucking brain, and today you're going to learn how to heal from trauma. How I want you to understand the brain is that it's divided into two components. You have the physical and the mental. Our bodies are psychosomatic, meaning our brains and our bodies are connected. And in a natural sense, the brain and the body are the exact same thing. All the brain is simply another organ. So while there are two components, these are really the same thing. The problem with videos nowadays on how to heal from trauma and minimize stress is that people focus on the mental as if it's some sort of ethereal aspect. It's up here, it's your thoughts, your consciousness is something outside of your brain. That's not true. Thoughts aren't random. Your thoughts, your psyche, is a reflection of your physical health. So what does this actually mean? You improve your physical health and your mental thoughts will improve. It is no longer ethereal. It is a trend, something you can track. Your thoughts and feelings are a direct reflection of the health of your brain. The better your physical health, the better your mental health. There is hardly a difference. Therapists and guidance counselors will now recommend talking to a friend, talking to them, spending money so that you can use a language to communicate what our feelings feel inside. This is retarded. Feelings, for the most part, can hardly be explained by words. While you are understanding what I'm saying, you can more so sense how I'm feeling. This is a far better way of expressing yourself and communicating your feelings than using words. Words, as I've talked about before, are a very ineffective way to communicate with people. And they are even a worse way of communicating your emotions and feelings. The problem with speaking to friends, family, even your significant other, is the superficiality of words. And you could say, well, Thiago, sometimes I have a really good conversation with my friend or my girlfriend and boyfriend, and I feel better afterwards. No doubt that you do. The problem is, you can have a great conversation with your friend, but if your brain is still shit, your thoughts will always return to shit. So while it is a temporary remedy to bad thoughts and bad moods, a more permanent fix is the physical. It is to change the very cells of your own brain, noticing the difference in your mental state, and finally understanding that what your brain is made out of is true mental health. So now I've shit on your friends, family, and significant other. I've shit on therapists and guidance counselors. Thiago, what's your recommendation? You have to change cells of your body. The quality of your hormonal profile is dependent on the foods that you eat. The quantity and quality of these hormones are produced in the brain. If you are not giving yourself the proper nutrients to create the proper hormones, you put yourself at higher risk for experiencing more trauma. Trauma, at the end of the day, is bad experience. Holy shit, that's a long ass word. You can see it up there. Any bad experience gets stored in the brain and is essentially seen as an adaptation to stress. I'll give you an example. You and your first partner are together for 5 years. You love this person, you cherish them, and you really trust them. By the end of the 5 years, you guys still don't have kids, you aren't really satisfied with the relationship, and one of you ends up cheating on each other. The person who was cheated on has now experienced something very bad. Horrible. This gets stored in the brain as trauma. It is an adaptation to a stress that you've experienced. And like I mentioned before, the brain and body are psychosomatic, meaning it cannot differentiate from physical trauma and mental trauma. Going through a breakup, getting cheated on, may be the same as losing a couple fingers, depending on the severity of how you feel it affected you. This is a horrible experience regardless of how healthy you are, but being healthier will make you more resilient to these bad experiences. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it's realistic to live a stress-free life. Stress will come. Sometimes it's part of life and you cannot really avoid it. But to be best prepared for when those moments come, your brain has to be healthy. That's a nice heart. And if your brain is unhealthy and you want it to become healthier, you have to replace the tissues of your brain. You can do this somewhat effectively with fats and cholesterol. But better than both of these is DHA omega-3. Where do you find DHA omega-3? Well, surprise, surprise, you are going to find it in fucking brain. And this makes perfect sense. To replace unhealthy tissues, start eating the healthy tissues of other animals. If your liver is full of synthetic vitamin A, we'll start consuming properly sourced, healthy, grass-fed liver. Other foods with DHA are oysters. I'm going to draw an oyster. It looks like an avocado. But oysters. Fishies. Fuck. You have fish livers like cod liver oil and their respective glands. Egg yolks, whether they come from chickens, ducks, or emus, all full of omega-3s. You need to build your own fucking brain out of these foods, because if you're building it out of grains, vegetables, seed oils, largely polyunsaturated fats, monounsaturated fats, your brain doesn't have the proper resources to stay healthy. And when you're not healthy, you're in a state of fight or flight. This enhances all the bad experiences that you will experience, leaving you vulnerable, leaving you traumatized after a breakup 10 years later. Close to me, bring it close to me, babe. Now I'm sure that was more so easy to understand. Something that is less talked about but offers the same importance is the mental. Jesus Christ. Go to school. Don't do that. Once you already have a physically healthy, resilient, nourished brain, we are focusing on the mental. What is the mental? The mental is experiential. It is how you see the world through your own eyes. But then again, the eyes are simply an exterior part of the brain. And if your brain is healthy, then what you will see through the world will also be healthy. You will just be happier. You will have fun. You will live your life the way you want to live it. You will want to have more sex. You will want to eat better quality food. It's all connected. But trauma and feelings of depression come because you are not doing what you want to be doing. And I want to summarize this very clearly so all of you understand. We are all humans, I would hope. Meaning there is species-appropriate behavior, meaning there's a species-appropriate diet. This makes life very easy. The important things in life always are. You may talk to vegans, businessmen, brainwashed fucking slaves, and they'll all tell you, do what works for you. We all have our own interests. I like golf, yeah, but I like basketball, and this motherfucker likes soccer. Who gives a fuck? These are all superficial means to get what you actually want. Like I said, humans are all the same, so all humans want the same exact things. Regardless of what job you work, what house you have, what religious and ethnic background you come from, what kind of food you eat in the morning, how many gods you believe in, it doesn't fucking matter. The only thing that matters and that all humans want is to be happy and healthy. Everybody wants this, right? But there's so many ways to achieve this. We all want to achieve the states of being happy and healthy. And since we're all humans, and nobody's a cow watching this video, it's now very easy to pinpoint what it is that humans need to be happy and healthy. Humans need off time, enough sunlight, nutrients, ideally from raw food, and sexual intercourse. And everything that proceeds after sexual intercourse. So you have 4 things. Doing what you want, getting enough sunlight, getting enough nutrients, ideally from raw food, and having enough sex with the person that you want, as many times as you want, naturally, so that you have what comes after, which is creating a family and a sense of community. These things are incredibly important. If you are not creating a family, if you do not have a community, you need to find an outlet for this somehow. Humans need to create, and if we're not creating children, which is the deepest form of creation and the purpose of our sexual organs, you have to find an outlet for this somewhere. Some of you create content, other of you build houses, some of you are mentors and tutors. But regardless of how healthy your brain is, without meaningful sexual intercourse, your life will not feel complete. Without a sense of feeling like you're creating something, your life will never feel complete, regardless of how much raw meat you're stuffing down your throat. Raw food and sunlight are the same thing. just nourishment for your brain and your body. Finally, enough off time. What does this actually mean? Enough off time means that you can essentially do whatever it is you want to do. Doing anything that you don't want to do is a form of trauma. Let me give you an example. Waking up in the morning at 6 a.m. with an alarm, to drive an hour in traffic, to work 8 hours, and then do the same drive back is a very traumatic life. And this is very subtle, but you will notice that a lot of people who live lives like this do not have their inner child anymore. The inner child is essentially the natural state of a human being. It is the part of you that wants to play. It is the part of you that wants to have fun, that wants to have sex. It is the part of you that has enough off time. If you do not have enough off time, this will be sucked out of you. This is the classic example of what happens in the movie The Matrix. You are essentially siphoned for your energy. You can hardly crack a smile, and the only times you do are when you're doing the natural things. You're out in the sun, having a barbecue with your family that you hardly spend time with. These may be the only times someone who doesn't have enough off time will smile. As a result, the brain gets smaller and you start losing these wrinkles, so you're more of a smooth brain now. Now you can hardly think. You're so traumatized from living a life that you never wanted to live that everything is shit, and you hate your children, and you hate your wife, and nothing is working. You work like a slave for money, spending your entire existence doing things you never wanted to do. I hope that makes it clear. I hope that makes it very clear what you should and should not be doing in your life to live a generally happy existence. And when you live a happy existence, you will not live a traumatized life.